Thank you. So I did submit this for ShmooteCon, didn't get picked up. I did give it a ShmooteCon epilogue, which is a smaller venue for this. And this is a talk that came out of incident response I was involved in shortly before I retired. And I saw an issue where we were spending a lot of time trying to get answers to questions that if we had spent a little bit of time, ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure, spend a little time beforehand, it could have helped us out a long way with what we were doing. So I'm sure some of the things I'll talk about, a lot of people here will probably nod your head, probably have experienced yourselves, but I figured it's something I want to share. Like I said, 20 years in the Navy, 12 years working on planes. I was an intermediate level maintenance technician for F-18 radar. There, I'm actually working on a test fixture for radar circuit card assemblies. This particular fixture we had gotten from the vendor, and I'm working on a wire wrap circuit card connector with about 200 connections that were miswired. And all wire wrap, having to unwrap it, rewrap it in the right place. Took me about 2 days to fix that thing. After doing aviation maintenance, I was starting my third tour at Naval Air Station Oceana. Decided I was tired of working on radars. Told my chief, hey, how about I go work down at ADP shop? Chief was like, okay. So I ended up spending 3 years as the information assurance manager for Fleet Readiness Center Mid-Atlantic. During that time, I had some interesting things, if anyone's done the information assurance manager job before, it can be trying at times, especially when users come running into your office. My account got shut down. What were you doing? I don't know. And of course, I'm looking at Active Directory where the NOC has put in the notes of why their account shut down. Like, yes, you do. Go get your chief. After that, I got converted to CTN or Cryptologic Technician Networks. I got offered 3 different career opportunities in that. One was to go up to NSA and do really awesome, network exploitation and attack. The other was to go to Navy Cyber Defense Operations and sit on a watch floor and answer service calls all day from people whose networks were having issues. And the third was to go to Navy Information Operations Command and do network defense. I chose network defense because, I'm a glutton for punishment, and anyone will tell you defense is a lot harder than anything else. So I spent 5 years there doing network assessments, helping ships defend their networks, doing operational test and evaluation of other networks. So my wife jokes that she loves all my sea stories. They all start with this one time when I was drunk. I've started to turn them into my cautionary tales of a misspent youth. When you spend those golden years of 18 to 21 overseas when drinking age isn't an issue. But I like to turn those now into stories to help people out, just like this story. So, I find that on a lot of networks we have problems keeping track of things. Finding things in file systems, things like that. And the next slide I'm about to show you is a top secret look into what a government network file system looks like. Or maybe that's what most of our network file systems look like. It's okay to admit it. We tend to lose things, and hard drive space is cheap, right? You go buy a terabyte hard drive for a couple $100, download more stuff, fill it up. This tends to be a problem, though, when you start working in incident response, because now you've got to find stuff and all of those downloaded files where you've downloaded, every version of Nmap going back to version 1. Now, this is actually kind of funny because, yeah, we're only at version 6 of Nmap, but how many actual releases have there been? When I counted on the page, there's probably about 23 releases. So you can imagine, oh, look, the new one. And we all tend to be kind of, file hoarders, don't we? And so, when you're dealing with managing an enterprise network and using your network tools, that can be kind of bad because those tools are the same tools that people use when they come in and attack your network. PowerShell, we had that great talk on the first day. All these tools that we're using every day for management are the same tools that attackers are using to hold on to our networks. The other thing we find problems with is that people don't baseline their networks. So they don't know what's normal behavior and what's not. So, you start having interesting traffic come out of a box somewhere, or a bunch of files suddenly show up or disappear. A lot of times people aren't paying attention to that. So again, making sure you have those network baselines ahead of time. What's normal traffic? What's normal files? I also find that taking time ahead of time to educate leadership goes a long way. Now, I was a bit of an oddball in the Navy, being a junior enlisted guy that had 2 advanced degrees. So I was usually the guy people called, hey, can you come down and explain this? I'm like, okay. And I found that if I took the time probably before a major incident response event, or if I had some pre-prepared material to sit down and say, here's what's going on, here's why this is a concern or not a concern, probably would have gone a long way, saved a lot of time. One of the recurring questions I got was, how do the attackers getting these tools on our network? I'm like, well, they're already there. Again, like I said, these are the tools that we're using to manage our network day to day. Does anybody remember the Discovery show, It Takes a Thief? All right, yeah, the trope was, this guy shows up, hey, we want to, break into your house, show you how bad your security is, give you a security upgrade. One of those episodes, the guy that did the break-ins, he walks into the backyard and there's an extension ladder there. It's locked to a fence post, but it's just a post. So the guy just picks the ladder up off the post and carries it over to the house, right in through the second floor window. So explaining that these tools are there, and that we need these tools there, but how can we protect the tools, like put the ladder in the garage, or actually lock the ladder to something that's not going to move? And then we get into well, these are attack tools, aren't they? Well, no. PS6X isn't necessarily an attack tool. It can be used that way to pivot your attacks, but it's a management tool, So it is a tool, and it is a weapon. The right answer is it depends on who's using it and for what purpose. If your network manager is using it to push patches to a box that your patch solution can't connect to, or to run an update somewhere, versus when an attacker is using it to pivot. So, being the kind of the way I look at things of solving problems, I kind of reached back into my aviation background and some things to try and figure out what can we do to kind of fix this. How can we save the hundreds of man hours we're spending tracking down, going, hey, we found this. Can you talk to the network engineers and find out, is this yours? Did you put this here? Waiting for a day, 2 days, network engineers going, oh. So, so I ask, do you know what tools you're using on your network? If you don't know, go out and find out. So, again, reaching back into my background in aviation maintenance, I thought, we have things in aviation maintenance to keep track of our tools. You see there, the toolbox is silhouetted. That is so that if I open a toolbox drawer, I can instantly tell if anything's out of place, if anything's missing, or if the wrong tools are in there. You go to any squadron anywhere in the Navy open up a toolbox, that toolbox will be the same across the Navy because they need to know that it's standardized. You walk into any shop, toolboxes are the same. It's easy, fast inventory, lets you know what's there and what's not. And you can see this is unclassified, where you can actually go to NavAir website, and if you want to read the hundreds of pages of this is what we call the NAMP, Naval Aviation Maintenance Program. And this is what talks about how we identify where the tools belong. We etch the tools. And then we give a description in a toolbox log of what that tool is. And it's a bad picture, but this is a pair of lineman's flyers from my first ship. And you can see it's etched organization code, work center, it's supposed to be toolbox number. And so by doing this, by kind of etching the tool, you know where that tool came from. And I'll share an anecdote. This isn't really my story. It's a guy I worked with, but he used to be in a Prowler squadron, EA-6Bs. And they were doing a phase inspection on the airplane. Part of this phase inspection was to remove the horizontal stabilizers, which are basically the small wings on the back of the plane. They took one of them off, and they found a wrench, about a foot-long wrench in the airframe. And so they look at the etching, and it belonged to the aviation depot. And the aviation maintenance, we have the organization. Those are the guys in the squadron that take the boxes out of the plane. They bring them to a guy like me. I'm in intermediate maintenance. If I can't fix it, I send it to the depot. Well, the depot also does refits of airframes every once in a while. And they figured out this wrench came from the depot, so they take it to QA, and QA is like, oh my God, let's call the depot, and everybody's like, oh my God. And the depot's like, we've been looking for that wrench, we thought it was lost. And lost tools are a big deal in the Navy. If you lose a tool in the middle of a shift, every piece of gear that you send out that shift has to come back until you find that tool. You have to take apart everything that you fixed because you don't want it flying through an aircraft when it's going Mach 2 somewhere. So they call the depot and they figure it out. They finish up the phase inspection. They go to put the stabilizer back on, and it won't fit. And anything they do, they can't get it to go back on. So my buddy Scott goes back into QA. He's like, I need this for a minute. Takes the wrench. They go back. They put it in the exact place where they found it. The stabilizer slid right on. That wrench had somehow warped the airframe to the point where if it wasn't there, the plane wasn't going back together right. So, I thought about a solution for this with incident response. Is there a way to mark or watermark tools that you use to save your incident responders time? So that when you come in, they find stuff in the network. Like when you're doing any type of forensics, you use like NSRL to say, okay, these are all known good files. I don't have to worry about them. Let's get rid of them. So what if you were to do something like take your tools, figure out what you're using, use a tool like HashDeep, take a hash of them all, put that list of hashes in your run book somewhere, your incident response run book, because you have one, right? And so when your incident responders come along and say, all right, you can say, oh, by the way, here's a list of all the tools that we use. Here are their hashes, here are their versions. Anything outside of this list, you should consider an IOC, or indicator of compromise. So I do have a demo, because here's the other problem. You download sysinternals. Okay, an attacker figures out using sysinternals, he just goes and gets the same version, right? So I came up with an idea, because I found, let's see if I can make this work. During trying to figure out a crypto challenge, I came across this tool. Hide it. It's a steganography tool that applies steganography to executable files. The last update was about 10 years ago, but one of the things that I thought was interesting was this capability. as a way to watermark or uniquely identify the tools that you're using. So when the incident responders show up, you hand them the run book and say, here's our list of tools. Our tool has a unique hash. Now, I didn't actually implement hidden because I started looking around at a few other things. And here's where the demo comes in. And I had attempted to record the demo that didn't work. So all right, let's see. So here we have PS exec. And you can see we'll take the hash of PS exec. This is the clean version, no modifications. All right, so you can see we have a lot of null bytes. Just take your standard hex editor. You got all these null bytes floating around. You have some at the end, null bytes at the end. Let's take this little byte here, down in the lower right corner. Let's make that a 1. We'll save that. There we go. If you can see that, we now have a unique hash. And like I said, you make that byte, bit, whatever you want to do. Flip it, a null byte somewhere. So now we take that hash, give that to our incident responders. And yes, it still works. So I've not broken the functionality of this tool, but what I have done now is created a unique hash value that when I give to incident responders and they're going around spending hours going through my network file system trying to look for indicators of compromise, I can say, this is the legit version of the tool that should be on the network. And if I go around and I go further by using something like AppLocker to do application whitelisting, and so the only people that can run these tools are my system engineers and admins, and I go a little bit further and make sure that they're not logging in with those privileged credentials, but they're doing run as, so they're never actually logging into a workstation locally. That kind of raises the bar. And if you think about it, anyone that does any type of network attack is going to be doing a cost-benefit analysis if they're not a script kiddie. They're going to sit there and figure out what level of effort do I need to put into attacking this network and what benefit am I going to get out of it. If they have to put more effort into it because you're doing something like this, you've got unique hashes for your tools. They're whitelisted in AppLocker. They can't grab your admin's credentials because they're using good practice, like not actually logging in with those credentials and using run as. Then they're likely to move on to the next, software guy. Think about if you look at the talks from B-Sides DC last year. One of them was there was a law office that got attacked, not because the law office was the target. The law office was the soft target. The client was the actual target, but their network couldn't be breached. Breach the law office, send emails from the Exchange server. Oh, look, it's from my lawyer. Let me open this right up. So and I think I did pretty good. 18 minutes of a 30-minute presentation to give the presentation and the demo. So any questions?
So before you cache, traditionally, you have to recreate those hash values in the concept.
You would. And it's, so yes, you are going to have to take, but you saw it took me, like a minute to change a bit. I look at it as an ounce of prevention being a pound of cure. Okay, so this is not this is going to be for things like tools, not patches. This is going to be for things like PSExec, Nmat, and I'm not talking about your security tools that your security team uses for pen testing and VA. Hopefully they're off. Like No, no, we're not talking about patches. We're talking about network management tools. Yeah. So this would only be a handful of things like sysinternals tools or things like that. Not things that are going to be. Hopefully, sysinternals tools aren't living on your production desktop environment.
We don't use Windows, so.
Okay. Okay. So in that again.
So the whole OS is network patch.
Okay. I see. Okay. That does. Okay. So that does. Different environment. And again, this is from an incident response we were doing on an enterprise class size network. On a smaller network, this doesn't necessarily apply because hopefully you're on a smaller network, you've got a better handle on things. Not necessarily, but but maybe if we start having interventions with our engineers who are hoarding hundreds of thousands of files. Not that that will ever happen. So yeah, I do understand that this is kind of a Windows-centric view. Any others? All right.